Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
This story is about Vladimir Putin. He is the president of Russia and one of the most powerful leaders in the world. He was born on October 7, 1952. Before he entered politics, he worked for 16 years as an intelligence officer for the KGB, the Soviet Union's security agency. Putin has led Russia for many years. He became acting president on the last day of 1999. He was officially elected president from 2000 to 2008. Because Russian law at the time said a president could only serve 2 terms one after the other, he became prime minister from 2008 to 2012. Then, in 2012, he became president again. He won elections again in 2018 and 2024. He is the longest-serving Russian leader since Russia became independent from the Soviet Union. His story is important today. Russia is a very large country with a powerful military and important natural resources like oil and gas. Vladimir Putin's decisions affect not only Russia but also many other countries around the world. His actions have changed Russia and its relationships with other nations. We will look at his life journey. It started in Leningrad, now called St. Petersburg, where he grew up. We will learn about his time in the KGB, including his job in East Germany. After the Soviet Union ended in 1991, he left the KGB and started working in politics in St. Petersburg. Later, he moved to Moscow and worked for President Boris Yeltsin. He quickly moved up to important positions. He became the head of the Federal Security Service, FSB, which replaced the KGB. In August 1999, he was appointed prime minister. During his time as leader, Russia has gone through big changes. In his early years as president, the Russian economy grew quickly, helped by high prices for oil and gas. He led Russia during the conflict in Chechnya. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, which was part of Ukraine. This action led to international sanctions against Russia. He also ordered Russian military help for the government in Syria's civil war. In February 2022, Vladimir Putin ordered a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This led to more international condemnation and stronger sanctions. In March 2023, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for him for war crimes connected to the movement of children out of Ukraine. Under Vladimir Putin, Russia's political system has changed. Some describe it as an authoritarian system. There have been many reports about limits on human rights and media freedom. This story explores how Vladimir Putin went from a simple start to become the leader of Russia for more than 20 years. 2. Young Putin. Vladimir Putin was born on October 7, 1952. His home city was Leningrad in the Soviet Union. Today, this city is called St. Petersburg. Vladimir was the youngest child in his family. He had 2 older brothers, Albert and Victor. Albert died when he was a baby. Victor died during World War II when German soldiers attacked Leningrad. This attack was called the Siege of Leningrad. Victor died from sickness and hunger in 1942. Vladimir's parents were Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin and Maria Ivanovna Putina. His father was born in 1911 and died in 1999. His mother was also born in 1911 and died in 1998. Vladimir's grandfather, Spiridon Putin, was a cook. He cooked for important Soviet leaders like Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin. Putin's mother worked in a factory. His father was in the Soviet Navy in the 1930s. During World War II, his father first served in a special group of the NKVD, which was part of the secret police. Then, he joined the regular army. He was badly hurt in a battle in 1942. The war greatly affected Putin's family. His grandmother on his mother's side was killed by German soldiers in 1941. Two of his mother's brothers also disappeared during the war. Putin started school on September 1, 1960. His school number 193, was near his home. There were about 45 students in his class. At first, he was one of the few children not in the Young Pioneers, a youth group. When he was 12 years old, he started learning martial arts. He learned Sambo and Judo. These sports became very important to him. In his free time, he liked reading books by Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and Lenin. Later, he went to a special high school, St. Petersburg High School 281. There he learned German very well. He can speak German fluently today. In 1970, Putin started studying law at Leningrad State University. The university is now called St. Petersburg State University. He finished his studies in 1975. His final paper was about rules for trading between countries, called the Most Favored Nation Trading Principle in International Law. At university, he had to join the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. He stayed a member until 1991 when the party ended. During his time at university, he met Anatoly Sobchak. Sobchak was a teacher who taught business law. Sobchak later became an important politician and helped Putin in his career. These early experiences, his family history, life in Leningrad after the war, learning judo, studying law, and meeting people like Sobchak helped shape the person Vladimir Putin became. 3. Working as a spy. After university in 1975, Vladimir Putin joined the KGB. The KGB was the main security agency for the Soviet Union. It included secret police and spies who worked inside the country and in other countries. Putin went to a special KGB school in Leningrad for training. After this first training, he worked in counterintelligence. This means he worked against spies from other countries inside Russia. Later, he moved to a different part of the KGB. His job was to watch foreigners and people who worked for other countries' offices in Leningrad. In September 1984, the KGB sent Putin to Moscow. He went to the Yuri Andropov Red Banner Institute for more training. This was an important school for Soviet intelligence officers. After this training, from 1985 to 1990, Putin worked in Dresden. Dresden was a city in East Germany. At that time, Germany was divided into two countries, West Germany and East Germany. East Germany was a communist country and worked closely with the Soviet Union. This period was part of the Cold War, a time of political tension between communist countries and Western countries like the United States. In Dresden, Putin's official job was a translator. This was his cover identity, hiding his real work as an intelligence officer. His real job was to work with the Stasi. The Stasi was the East German secret police. Putin acted as a link between the KGB and the Stasi. During his time in Germany, he reached the rank of lieutenant colonel in the KGB. The East German government gave him a bronze medal for his service to their army. What Putin did in Dresden is something people discuss. Some writers say his main job was simple, like collecting articles from newspapers. But other writers, like Catherine Belton, wrote that he might have been involved in more secret work. She suggested he helped coordinate with a West German terrorist group called the Red Army Faction. However, a German newspaper, Der Spiegel, looked into this claim in 2023. They reported that the person who gave this information was not reliable. Putin was still working in Dresden on November 9, 1989. This was the famous night the Berlin Wall started to fall. This event was a very important sign that communist power in East Germany was ending. Putin later said that during the protests in Dresden, he protected important documents. He said he saved files at the Soviet Cultural Center and the KGB office from protesters. He also said he burned many KGB files very quickly, but kept other important papers safe for the future German government. After the communist government in East Germany ended, Putin returned to Leningrad in early 1990. The Soviet Union itself was also changing quickly. He worked for about 3 months at Leningrad State University in the International Affairs section. He also looked for new people to possibly join the KGB. Putin has stated that he officially left the KGB on August 20, 1991. This was the second day of an attempt by some old-style communist leaders to take power back from the Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev. Leaving the KGB marked the end of his spying career and the start of a new direction in his life. 4. Starting in politics. After leaving the KGB spy agency in 1991, Vladimir Putin started a new life in politics. He began working in his home city, St. Petersburg. In May 1990, the city's mayor, Anatoly Sobchak, asked Putin to be his advisor. Sobchak knew Putin from university. Putin helped the mayor with international relations. In June 1991, Putin got a bigger job. He became the head of the Committee for External Relations in the mayor's office. His job was important for the city. He worked to bring foreign companies and money to St. Petersburg. He also helped new businesses start there. Some people in the city government looked into his work. They asked questions about how he valued some city property and about metals sent out of the country, but Putin stayed in his job until 1996. He learned a lot about how a city government works. He also became the first deputy head of the city administration. In 1996, Mayor Sobchak lost an election. After this, Putin moved to Moscow. He started working for the president of Russia, Boris Yeltsin. His first job in Moscow was deputy chief of the Presidential Property Management Department. This office managed property that belonged to the old Soviet Union. Putin was responsible for moving this property to the new Russian Federation. Putin moved up quickly in the Moscow government. In 1997, he became deputy chief of the presidential staff. This is a very important office that helps the president. Later that same year, he got another promotion. He became the chief of the Main Control Directorate. This department checked how different parts of the government were working. In July 1998, President Yeltsin gave Putin a very powerful job. He made him the director of the Federal Security Service, or FSB. The FSB was the new name for the main part of the old KGB where Putin used to work. As director, Putin worked to make the FSB stronger. Putin's rise continued. In March 1999, he became the secretary of the Security Council of Russia. This council advises the president on national security. Then, in August 1999, President Yeltsin made another big change. He removed the prime minister, Sergei Stepashin. Yeltsin chose Putin to be the new acting prime minister. Yeltsin also told the country that he wanted Putin to be the next president after him. Putin was now in a top position in Russia's government. 5. Becoming president. On the last day of 1999, December 31st, President Boris Yeltsin surprised Russia. He said he was leaving his job. Vladimir Putin, who was the prime minister, became the acting president. This means he was the temporary president until the next election. Yeltsin said he believed Putin was the right person to lead Russia. Just a few months later, in March 2000, Russia had an election for president. Vladimir Putin won this election. He officially became the president of Russia on May 7, 2000. This was the start of his first time as president. As the new president, Putin wanted to make Russia strong and stable again after the difficult 1990s. One of his first big actions was to build what he called a vertical power. This idea was about making the central government in Moscow stronger and having more control over the country's regions. In May 2000, he created 7 large areas called federal districts. He put a special person in charge of each district to represent him. In July 2000, a new law allowed the president to remove the leaders of Russia's regions if needed. Another big problem was the situation in Chechnya, a region in the south of Russia. A war was happening there with groups who wanted Chechnya to be separate from Russia. Putin took a strong position. He continued the military actions to stop the separatists and bring Chechnya back under the control of the Russian government. This strong action made him popular with many Russians. During Putin's first years as president, Russia's economy started to get better. The country earned more money, especially because the prices for oil and gas went up. Putin's government also made new economic rules. Russia began to pay back the money it owed from the time of the Soviet Union. By 2005, these old debts were paid. People's lives started to improve slowly, and more people became part of the middle class. Putin also took action against some very rich and powerful business people, sometimes called oligarchs, who had become very strong during Yeltsin's time. Some, like Boris Berezovsky and Mikhail Khodorkovsky, lost their power. Some left the country and others went to prison. At the same time, Putin's government introduced new laws for important things like land ownership, taxes, and work. These changes helped to organize the country's rules. His first term focused on building a stronger state and improving the economy. 6. Leading Russia. Vladimir Putin won his second time as president in 2004. During this time, from 2004 to 2008, Russia's economy grew fast. On average, it grew by 7% each year. This happened mainly because the prices for oil and gas, which Russia sells, went up 5 times. With this money, Russia was able to pay back all the old debts from the Soviet Union by 2005. Putin continued to build a strong government controlled from Moscow. In 2004, he changed the rule for choosing regional leaders, called governors. Before, people voted for them. After the change, the president chose them, and the regional government approved them. Putin also started to speak more strongly about Russia's place in the world. In 2007, he gave a speech in Munich, Germany. He said the United States had too much control in the world. In the same year, Russia stopped following an important agreement about weapons in Europe. When Kosovo declared independence from Serbia in 2008, Putin strongly disagreed with it. The Russian army also became more active, with long flights by bomber planes and Navy ships going into the Mediterranean Sea. Russia's main law, the Constitution, said a president could only be elected 2 times, one after the other. So in 2008, Putin became prime minister. Dmitry Medvedev became the president. Many people believed Putin still had the most power. While Putin was prime minister, Russia fought a war with Georgia in August 2008. The government also made changes to the army and the police. The world economic crisis started in late 2008 and affected Russia too. Putin returned to the job of president in 2012. He won the election, but there were big protests. Some people said the election was not fair. The government began to control protests more strictly. New laws made it harder for groups to get money from other countries. These groups were called foreign agents. Putin also supported traditional values. He worked closely with the Russian Orthodox Church. A law was made against sharing information about gay relationships, called the Gay Propaganda Law. In 2014, big changes happened in Ukraine. After protests, the Ukrainian president left the country. Soon after, Russia took control of Crimea, which was part of Ukraine. Putin signed a treaty making Crimea part of Russia. He said Crimea had always been Russian land. Many countries around the world did not agree. They put economic punishments called sanctions on Russia. Russia was also asked to leave the group of 8 G8, a group of large economies. These events caused problems for Russia's economy. 7. Russia and the world. Vladimir Putin wants Russia to be a strong and important country in the world. He does not like the idea of only one country, like the United States, being the main power. He wants a world with many important centers of power. Putin believes Russia has special interests in the countries near it. These are often countries that were part of the old Soviet Union. He sometimes calls this area the near abroad. Russia's relations with these neighbors have sometimes been difficult. Putin did not like changes in government in Georgia in 2003, Ukraine in 2004, and Kyrgyzstan in 2005. These events were called the Color Revolutions. In 2008, Russia fought a short war with Georgia over South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Russia later said these areas were independent countries. Putin also worked to bring some former Soviet countries closer together. This led to the Eurasian Economic Union, which started in 2015. When Putin first became president, Russia's relationship with the United States and NATO was careful but hopeful. After the September 11 attacks in 2001, Putin offered support to the U.S., but relations got worse over time. Russia strongly disagreed with the U.S. war in Iraq in 2003. In 2007, Putin gave an important speech in Munich. He criticized the United States, saying it had too much power and acted alone too often. Russia worried about NATO growing larger and moving closer to its borders. In 2014, Russia was removed from the G8 group of countries after it annexed Crimea. In 2023, Russia suspended its part in the New START Treaty, an agreement with the U.S. about controlling nuclear weapons. Putin has led Russia during several wars and conflicts. After becoming president, he focused on the war in Chechnya. The war with Georgia happened in 2008. Since 2015, Russia has used its military in Syria. It supports Syria's leader, Bashar al-Assad, in the country's civil war. This action helped Russia keep naval bases in the Mediterranean Sea. The relationship with Ukraine led to major conflict. In 2014, Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. Russia also supported fighters in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine. In February 2022, Putin ordered a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This invasion caused strong reactions around the world. Many countries condemned Russia's actions. The United States, the European Union, and others put heavy sanctions on Russia. These sanctions aim to hurt Russia's economy. In March 2023, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Putin. The court accused him of war crimes connected to the illegal movement of children from Ukraine to Russia. 8. The leader today. Vladimir Putin has been Russia's leader for a very long time, more than 20 years as president or prime minister. In April 2021, he signed changes to the Constitution. These changes mean he could stay president until 2036. Some people see him as a strong leader who made Russia powerful again. Others say Russia is now like a dictatorship under his rule, with strong government control and less freedom. His public image often shows him doing sports or activities in nature. In March 2024, Putin won the presidential election again. Officials said he got about 88% of the vote. However, leaders in many Western countries said the election was not free or fair. There were reports that votes were not counted correctly and that some people were forced to vote. Voting also happened in parts of Ukraine that Russia controls. Just after the election, a terrible attack happened at the Crocus City Hall near Moscow. More than 140 people died. It was the worst attack in Russia for many years. The full-scale war in Ukraine started by Putin in February 2022 continues. This war has caused many problems, including international actions against Russia, like sanctions. These are rules to limit trade and business. In September 2022, Putin announced a partial mobilization, calling more men into the army. Russia also said 4 regions of Ukraine were now part of Russia, but most countries do not agree. In March 2023, the International Criminal Court, ICC, gave an arrest warrant for Putin. The ICC says he is responsible for war crimes, including taking children from Ukraine illegally. In September 2024, Putin warned that Russia might use nuclear weapons if attacked, even with normal weapons. Life in Russia has changed under Putin. The government has more control over the media and the internet. There are laws against protesting or saying things the government does not like. Some groups say there are problems with human rights and corruption. The economy is now focused on the war. Inside Russia, official polls show many people support Putin, especially older people. But some experts question these polls, and younger Russians often have different views. Outside Russia, especially in Western countries, many leaders criticize Putin strongly. But in some other parts of the world, views are different. Putin remains a very powerful figure in Russia and the world. His long time in power has seen Russia change in many ways. What do you think people will remember most about Vladimir Putin in the future?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.